and the recommendation is that the agenda for the regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Councillor Wilson and Councillor Butler, all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Item number 2 is the adoption of minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Governance and Operations Committee meeting and the regular council meeting, both held September 9th, 2024, be adopted as circulated. Councillor Wilson. Thank you. Councillor Butler, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. So this evening we do have a delegation, and the delegation is Tanya Finley and Audrey Durham from the Care Neighborhood Network M2. So before we get started, I just want to read out the question period recommendations. Sorry? Right. Okay, so that goes out. Yeah. Okay, that goes out. Okay, Tanya and Audrey. Please state your name and addresses, please.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to just state your name. It's going to be these arrows. These two. These two. Okay.
Thank you everyone for having us here this evening. I really appreciate it. Our goal is to work with you. Although it appears that we've been working against, it is not the case. We've had to take pictures because we feel that things will disappear and we will be forgotten. And we have not been heard in many cities across. And so we know that you are listening, and thank you for this opportunity, this delegation today. It means a lot.
Sorry, can I just get you guys to state your name and address?
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
She told us
said not to.
Tanya, my name is Tanya Finley. Sorry,
okay.
my name is Tanya Finley.
And I'm Audrey Durham, and we're both representing the Trail Neighborhood Network. And Tanya can tell a little bit about her background, but I've been here for 8 years. Before that, I was a chef, a restaurateur, and after that, I've been a consultant with many provincial projects, and mostly in community development and business development and Aboriginal tourism. So yes, and doing this delegation, it was extremely stressful because we were given the instructions that we weren't allowed to talk about anything that we talked about before, and that we aren't allowed to talk about anything to do with the constitution of land, labor, or legal. So, but I love a challenge, those of you that know me, so here we be. So thank you very much.
I'd also like to make a point that the government has changed some rules on the provincial, so I understand that you guys have had some differences as what's happened with the new legislation changes and governing bodies. So this doesn't fully represent what we were allowed to post last week, and we didn't have any time for adjustment or change. So just take note of that there has been some provincial changes. And then also, the expansion of this, we're talking about the Riverside residents, but we are now getting calls from the other side of the walking bridge that there are neighbors and residents and businesses in distress on the other side of the walking bridge. So we are representing Riverside, and anyone that is worried about what the shelter does. We're worried about clustering of services, and we are worried about the proximity to children, seniors, and parks. We have the letters and steps that we can take from you. I'll send this to everybody out here so that everyone has a copy so that you can be part of this. We've also asked for drug testing of staff that are working at sites like this as well. We are waiting to hear back from that to make sure that the vulnerable populations in these sites are absolutely being taken care of to the best of their abilities. Neighborhood Network advocates to the citizens of all levels of government, provincial, federal, municipal, partners like BC Housing, Interior Health, and we are hoping to work with TCAL and Sheila as well on those. We've asked to be part of the task force, and so far have not been allowed to speak.
And we're here requesting Mayor and Council endorse a letter of support to the Riverside Shelter Partners with a request to work to develop a neighborhood safety plan to protect the residents' right to safety. And we're proposing to do this by setting criteria to track the shelter's success. So what's a good neighbor policy? Is it the same as me being a good neighbor, or is it different for the shelter? And also to set criteria before a lease extension is given with BC Housing. Right now, I understand it's a 1-year lease with potential of a 3-year lease. And then Mayor Jones, you said at the library meeting when the 15 of us met that you couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't be for 4 years. So we want to know, like, who's setting the criteria before the lease is extended?
So with that criteria, we would like measurables and matrix. We would like bylaw extended into evenings and weekends and possibly a CSO officer. We would like this so that the data is being tracked back to us and it is an independent source, not necessarily us having to take photos that someone's actually doing this, because we are all volunteers and we are tired and we are scared.
Yeah, and we're here to advocate for the residents and the neighborhoods where shelters are located. So businesses, business neighborhood and the neighborhoods, and try and prevent the entrenchment of criminals who are exploiting the vulnerable people in the Riverside area as well, because that's happening all the time.
We also have a security company that would be happy to patrol the 1 kilometer radius. That seems to have an effect in all the communities where shelters, particularly with no low barriers. It is very concerning that we do not have bylaw and security in the residents in those areas around it. We are asking for public consultation on any of the new adjustments, and we're asking for 3-month stages of where we can know that this is measurable, if it's actually working. We would like to know how many deaths, how many overdoses, how many rapes, how many police, fire, and ambulance calls are at the site. Most neighborhoods don't see what we see when we live near or work by a shelter. They don't hear the sirens and sounds that people are needing noise cancellation machines to sleep at night. And the people that are dying are suffering. And we are all in this group over here and this group over here have all lost a very close loved one, and one just recently this month. So what we can say is that we are all working for the same purpose, and no one was listening, and that's why we had to go the route that we did. And I think it's effective and it's working.
And I just wanted to add that we're not in opposition to the shelter, as Mayor Jones said on her CBC September 12th interview, but we are in opposition to residents and businesses facing lawlessness from shelters where illicit drugs are endorsed. So next slide.
These are the neighborhoods that we're helping. So Castlegar, Cranbrook, Creston, Kimberley, Nelson, and Trail. We understand that the province put this into your hands and said that you had to pick a location. We also understand how that criteria was chosen now, why you chose the Riverside Avenue. We disagree with that location, and we've said that before. So we would like the measurables in the matrix to be counted in it, and we would like to be part of that conversation. We're going to be looking for criteria for success, and we'd like to be part of that conversation with Sheila and the City Council, as well as the neighborhood residents and the people that are affected with addictions, because we are hearing from them that the response that they were getting is not what they want either.
Next slide.
Yeah. We've done multiple advocacy for the residents of Trail. Driving over here when I should be at home with work. I've had multiple conversations with some of you in this room, and so it would be really nice if we could do this in a more proper fashion where we don't have to take everyone's time up. And that would be really respectful to the group and the residents that have been boycotted, alienated, and demonized in some way. With the provincial election coming up, we really need to be working on all sides to make sure that the citizens are being heard. People with addictions shouldn't be dying at these numbers at 6 a day.
So the criteria for success, I've been researching, and one of the problems is that there's only 2 studies that have any research data for residents for safety on low barriers, and one is at a Lethbridge University, which everybody goes, that's not Trail, and the other one is from a group of Nanaimo people where everybody goes, that's not Trail. So so we didn't know where to start, so we got a hold of the RCMP, all the first responders, and asked for data, and got all this data and found out, well, we can't really use this because there's no baseline, right? There's the thing that we could use the most was that the Station 374, the Trail Fire Hall said they had 8, and this was between December 1st and January 1st of 2023. The Station 374 was the most helpful for us because they said they had 374 867 call outs, and of those 303 were overdoses, but they had no record of naloxone injections. We also looked at the bylaw officer report, if we could get some data on that. Again, no baselines. It just has the June report said there was 44 homeless infractions. So what does that mean? And then the RCMP report just at the last council meeting, where Mike said the report said that the most vulnerable population is most associated with the violence, assaults, trafficking, drugs, and rapes, which is just, I mean, it's a humanitarian thing now. It is so sad that that's what's going on. So we're here to start a baseline anyways, and we can't do that on our own because, and we also have neighbors collecting data. How many times are they calling the police? How many times are people being raped? How many times are people having home invasions? And then we get asked for pictures, like our word isn't enough. So it's really tough. It's getting really tough.
So we are looking for the area for success. We're looking for BC Housing. We're looking for the City of Trail. We're looking for everyone to be a partner in this problem. But we need to actually report and have it documented so that it's usable and factual going forward. Marker at the 1-year marker. Is this run properly? Do the people have the skills in that site to protect? We also need to know that this is a medical condition, and what training do they require if they're going to have this low barrier shelter? Who decides that? So those are some of the questions that we have, and who will be responsible for this? Who will be responsible for the people that died? Who will be responsible for the police, fire, and ambulance calls that were necessary? Who will be responsible to the rape kits that are required at those sites or outside of it? We're finding that most of these things happen just outside the perimeter of the shelter that are run by this. The people, and when they don't comply with the rules and regulations with inside, they just get pushed to the outside walls or back into the bushes, into the corners. And so what are we doing about that piece? Because that is the people that is causing disturbances, and they are not safe to themselves and others. El Nino was a project in the downtown alley, which you heard the residents and you heard the businesses, and you moved it. We expect that same consideration and to be at the table when this needs to be moved, if it should need to be moved. We also are looking at the restoration of this downtown thing. You go down the alley and you can see the death, the pain, suffering in that alley. It needs to be identified, cleaned up, and remembered, because this was something that was put on us all, and it is not any of our fault. And everyone that died in that alley needs to be remembered. It is a memorial site, and it is tragic.
Yeah, and I just want to add about the alley. I went to the open house and I was really disappointed you folks weren't there to answer my questions. But anyway, so I asked BC Housing. There was 5 people from BC Housing about it. And the operator was there, Sheila, and some of her staff. And so I asked, what is the criteria for cleaning up the alley? Like, whose responsibility is it? And they pointed to you guys because you weren't there, right? It's like you're the volunteer, right? But then I found out that it really, all the painting and all the mess, it's going to fall on the business's shoulders. So is that what's going to happen with the Riverside shelter? If it turns into a mess like the alley, is it going to fall on the residents' shoulders? So that's why we want criteria. That's the big thing, because it's not fair. I mean, the whole thing is a mess, but it's just not fair.
What we don't want to see is a decline in the property and the safety of the people and the residents there. We want to see lives being saved. We don't want any more deaths. We want to see synergies between all of us, the City of Nelson, the Neighborhood Network, and all the working groups that are trying to save lives. Trail N2 is asking for bylaw. We are asking for reasonable measures to protect the residents of Riverside, and we're expanding that to overside the bridge up into Second Ave into Safeway. It is terrifying what is happening out there, and the drug dealers are getting away with killing their clients. And so, in closing, we ask again for one of the residents of Riverside Avenue to stand alongside you while we move through this process of an opiate crisis that has been lasting since 2016. 6 people are dying a day and 126 children die between the ages of 8 and 18. It is intolerable. And I am standing here on behalf of the residents, and I've been asked to be here. So everyone who keeps asking me why I'm here, I was asked to come. I have lost family and friends, and you need to be kind. So that is Neighborhood Network presentation. Thank you very much, and we look forward to being on the task force.
Is there questions? Wait, I can't, the arrow won't work, so I'm stuck at the question thing, so.
So do you actually have an actual list of?
I do, I'm gonna send that to you.
No, I meant, is there questions for, any questions for
We
you?
did send it earlier. We were told that we had to break it down into all the areas and criteria.
That
So
makes sense.
we did do that. So that's why we didn't bring it. So it's just delegating that this is interior health, this is BC housing, this is CDS, this is TCAL, this is so that we have, because we understand the multiple layers and how difficult and how complex this issue is. And we are tired of being left to the side like we don't matter. Does anyone have any questions?
Like,
Well,
I think,
hold on a sec.
You can ask a question, right?
I will ask if anybody has any.
no,
questions.
we're asking for you, if you
Yeah.
have questions, like, you
Does
know,
council have any questions?
I can't get
It won't
the
move.
Q slide, it's frozen.
Does council have any questions?
Don't touch it, 'cause
before we
I'm
move
not
forward?
Just a comment, Mayor Jones. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's reasonable in some of the requests here. You're looking for data and measurables, and I think that's something that's very helpful for all of us. And so I have no questions at this time, but I just want to thank you both for coming in and giving us this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jones.
We are looking for a letter of support, similar to the one that you gave the Trail Community Action Team, to say that we do good work, that you support what we're doing, and our goals are the same as your bylaw officers. They're exactly the same. Our first meeting, Tia said at the meeting, the group is 90% on the same page. They're grassroots and we're not. That was at the chamber, after the chamber thing. But anyway, sorry, Tia. And yeah, okay. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now it just needs to face towards council. Yep.
Not on here.
Okay, we are going to move into question period, public question period. And I will read out the criteria for public question period. And the public question period is an opportunity for public to ask questions of council about items ideally discussed at a current meeting. These questions and their comments will be appropriate and respectful. Should council feel your questions or comments are inappropriate, you will be asked to step away from the microphone. I will make myself available at the end of the evening, at the end of the meeting, or if you wish to make an appointment to continue to discuss the matter one-on-one. If you have any questions that do not pertain to the current meeting, please speak to council or staff after the meeting to make other arrangements. So is there anyone here for public question period?
My name is Margaret Crawford, and I live at 209 Kootenai Avenue here in Trail. I have 2 questions, and then just a brief explanation. What is it going to take for all levels of government to start protecting young people from going down this path to death at an early age? My other question is, why do we as a society continue to condone and even encourage the use of drugs? Instead, society needs to focus on educating our young people to not go down that path of drug use at all. Instead, we should be helping them to find a trusted adult to whom they can talk about their worries so that they can get some guidance on how to deal with whatever trauma they have experienced. After all, everyone experiences anxiety from time to time going through life. That's a given. It is how you handle the stress or anxiety that will see you through the rough patches we all face. Turning to street drugs is no solution to anything, and there is no such thing as a safe drug. As many of you know, Viren Joshi and I set up the elementary counseling program in our school district in the mid-1980s. And in that role, got to know the students in all our schools, many of them from the age of 5 onward. A majority of young people on our streets were not born and raised here, but some of the addicted souls on our city streets were past students of mine, and many of them have died on the street. And I know what trauma they experienced growing up, but they all had potential and were capable of being successful in life if society had been more proactive in protecting them from this horrific ending. Thank you.
Margie, did you have a question then?
Yes, I gave you the 2 questions.
Is that you're asking us to go to every level of government to speak out for educating the youth against
To
drug use?
encourage them to work together as a team to protect young people, and primarily focusing on not only prevention and education, because it has to start there from an early age.
Yeah.
I know firsthand. And then second, to of course get on with treatment for the ones that are already afflicted.
Thank you. And Ms. Butler, I saw you have your hand up.
It's okay, Your Worship. I was just gonna comment that we would ask, just out of respect, please refrain from applause, because in a situation like this, it is a heated conversation and not everybody is on the same page or has the same views. And people may feel threatened to come up to the podium if they feel that there's a strong voice that may be in opposition to them. So we would ask that you don't use outspoken language or applause until everybody in the gallery's had a chance to speak. So thank you.
So I really want to comment on your question, because through the work that we do as council and all the committees and the nonprofit organizations that we're a part of, we have recognized that there seems to be more and more youth that are coming to the facilities. I want to tell you that we have noticed it. We have reached out to our nonprofit TCAT, who has helped us with workshops to start educating the young children out there. We have had a speaker come in, a guy Fulicello, to speak to all the schools. And he's an advocate for the homeless from Vancouver. I believe he's here tonight. We have spoken to BC Housing, Interior Health. I want to tell you that just recently, getting back from the UBCM, we had a meeting with the Deputy Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. And one of our big discussion points there was reaching out to the schools, reaching out to the communities about educating young children about the risk of using drugs, telling them how and where they can get harm reduction supplies, educating them about what it means when they start using, who to reach out to ask for help. We've done a lot of work in the community, speaking to the school district. We have a lot of people involved, and it's a priority for us because we know that when you start at a young age, it's a horrible life to go through when you get to be an adult and you're still using drugs. So we want to stop it as soon as we can. Interior Health has been very involved. And you know, that's another reason why we have the low barrier at the shelter, Because if people are using in a safe place and using harm reduction equipment and are knowing that they have people around them, if they have to use, that's a safe place for them. And I can tell you that in the last 13 days, since the shelter was open, there was 1 overdose down there, 3 calls to the ambulance, and 3 calls to the RCMP. No overdose?
No
Sheila?
overdoses at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I thought in your report
No,
you
it
said
said
it was
not
one.
one
Oh,
overdose,
not,
not
okay.
one overdose. in
Okay,
13
so
days.
there you go, it shows that it's working. I mean, we're trying the best that we can, and we know starting at an early age is now what we have to do. It's something that the community needs. I don't know how to tell you how much we are advocating for this in our community. It's at every level of government. Every chance we have an opportunity to speak to somebody about it, it is something that we are very, very concerned about, and it is a priority. I don't know what else to say. Is there anyone else for question period?
So you know me, I know you. 2080 Riverside Avenue,
Just please state your name.
Margaret Sherwood. And we're talking about the safety and security of the people in the shelter. We still have done nothing for the safety and security of the people that live around the shelter. I don't have safety and security anymore. When I look out my window, when I'm making dinner, and there's someone on my window starting to smoke crack, that does not make me safe or secure. My daughter now tells me she hates Trail because she used to feel it was a beautiful place to live. Now she can't even walk to work safely. Why is our safety and security not on the list? Because it's not. And nothing's being done for us. I've called the police on the person on my patio. I was called a liar in chambers by you. I was called when I got the report from the RCMP that was sent to you. Mysteriously, my phone call was not on that report. So if we can't rely on the RCMP, they don't have our back. We can't rely on council because they're gonna call us liars. How are we supposed to have any safety and security in this town? It's all about safety and security for the people at the drug site. And it's not all roses and flowers there, believe me, because I see it. We have people still living on the riverbank. We have people still screaming. We have fire trucks and ambulances going there and police going there that we are promised once this open, this would not be a problem. It is a problem. Where is our care? Where is our safety and security? We're not getting any. And that seems to be okay with everybody. I don't understand. I worked hard, I have trauma. I didn't go to drugs, that was my choice. Drugs was their choice. Where is my safety and security? I have a right to be able to be in my home, not have to lock all the deadbolts on my doors, because I don't know when the next person's gonna come on my patio. It's not accessible from the front. They had to walk up my driveway, they had to walk down the hallway and go on my patio. I don't understand.
Okay.
Why do we live in a country where safety and security of the average person doesn't matter anymore? It's
So-
all about drug addicts.
Right, so let's just be really clear, because at no time did anybody around this council call you a liar, for you to send us evidence.
No, you
And
said,
so-
but your exact quote was, I'm not calling you a liar, but do you have any proof? You already know I didn't have proof. Are you
Well,
paying for me to set up
so-
cameras? Why am I spending my hard-earned money that I should be using on my daughter to put up cameras, to put up no trespassing signs, to putting security on my patio doors and gates and everything, because you chose to put that there? It was your choice. This chamber voted that that was the place it had to go.
Mhm. Okay, well, I can tell you what we've done now down there on our part for security, and I know that through BC Housing, we had extra security down there. I know
There was
that,
security for the building before it was occupied. There is no safety or security down there for us anymore.
and I know that we've had extra police patrols down there. We've had our bylaw officers going down there. I can only tell you what I know that we have directed to be done. And unfortunately, these incidences are happening, within that period of time that I don't, that's why I'm asking for videos. I need evidence to show the police.
Are you gonna pay for me to set up video cameras?
No.
Or am I taking that food out of my daughter's mouth so I can do that?
No, so I'm not going to, I can't argue
So-
with you, Margaret.
Are you gonna help us or not?
Yeah, well, we're trying to help.
How?
We're trying to help with all this extra security that we have down there.
You haven't put any
I
security.
know
on
that
there.
the shelter has 32 cameras.
The camera's not a security device. It's after something happens, you can show them who it was.
Okay, so you know what, I'm gonna pass this over to staff so that we can have another look at the security down there and see what we can come up with, and that's all I can promise you. Because you know what, we have tried to do everything that we can, along with BC Housing and Interior Health, to help make sure that that is a safe community for you. We've also, and if you remember at the very beginning, we had Mr. McGaw, Gary McGaw, on the Community Safety Task Force. At one time, we had a voice down there for you.
Where's our voice now?
Exactly. So-
Where is the security and safety?
So what we'll do is
And-
we'll relook at this again and,
I was at the very first meeting, and the one thing I distinctly remember from BC's Housing's mouth, while he was crying, was that the safety and security of the residents of the area is none of their concern. And they have proved that time and time again.
okay, well, thank you, and I'll take your information to
And it'll go nowhere.
security. Thank you. Now, Mr. Steves, no, before you get started, the least you can do is apologize to council. I should see a letter in writing before you even speak to us for swearing at us last time around. We're trying to have a respectful conversation here. So unless you want to apologize before you speak, or you can write the letter and then come back and speak.
I'm sorry for my outburst last time. I've been fighting this for 2 years and I'm frustrated. I have spent thousands of dollars on my own store security to keep things safe. And I apologize for my outburst to each and every one of you.
Well, you know what, I'm gonna have to ask council if they will agree to have you speak tonight. Because we are taking this very, very seriously. You've been fighting it for 2 years. We've been trying to work with everyone for 2 years. Believe it or not, we have. So I'm gonna ask council right now if you are okay with having Mr. Steve speak tonight. And I need a show of hands, please.
Okay.
Okay? You
Thank
can
you.
go ahead, but
Thank you. I have a question. This is a low barrier shelter. And there are people who are persona non grata. You can't go there. Right? Some of these people are what you people are calling trails most vulnerable. There are women on the streets and they can't go because of mental health issues or whatever, but they can't go. 2 years ago, I came here and I talked about my friend Chelsea Cameron And I do not want that happening again this winter. So I don't understand why these people, excuse me, can't get into the shelter. It's a low barrier shelter. Why are there rules in place to keep them out? That's all I have to ask.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you being respectful. But can I tell you, please, that we know going into this, there was a certain level of mental illness that they don't want to be in those kind of shelters. They don't want to be in a shelter. They prefer to be on the street. And having known that through the work that we've done, we've been working with Interior Health to find out what the next step is going to be. We know there's still people out there that need homes. We know that they still need a washroom, and we know that they still need a bed at night. We know that, but what we're trying to do right now is find the next step for them. So we need that supportive housing, but before we get that supportive housing, we need a place where they can detox. We need them to be able to go to rehab and then come to supportive housing and hopefully come back into our community. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
However, I speak to these people, right?
You know what?
And I sat down with Crystal for probably minutes, having a chat with her. And she was excited to go to this shelter. And she said, I get in 2 days, I'm so happy. So 2 days later, I go driving downtown to actually hunt her down, because I also feed her, right? And I asked her, you in the shelter? No, they won't let me in. It's a low barrier shelter, right? And they're denying people access.
Well,
Also, I chased the bus around full of people. And I want to know where these people are coming from, right? I'm not lying. I even took a picture, right? And where are these people coming from? And why are they in our shelter? This shelter is built for trail, and trail residents should be in it, right? First and foremost. And this is not right. We're playing favorites. And I'm not saying you. Right.
okay. So you know what? I have given you
Yeah,
an opportunity to speak, and I've gone against what I read out to you. So I appreciate this, but you know what, Mark? My door is always open.
I'd also I just have a comment. Yesterday I was reading in the newspapers and I looked it up online. Alberta has reduced their overdoses by 55% in 1 year by throwing out this harm reduction.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
maybe something we
Thanks,
should
Mark.
learn. Thanks.
That you refrain from clapping, please. Let's be respectful. Is there anyone else with questions for you, please?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Natalie Phillips and I live at 2097 Hopping Street. And I'm open to delivery at 1201 Bay Avenue. I have a couple of questions and then I'm gonna follow up with kind of what's happened with me for the last 3 weeks. I keep hearing this question, and it's what steps are you taking to protect local businesses and residents from, I don't know how to say it, the dangers of drug and just of what's happening here. What are you actually doing? I hear that there's more police patrolling and the bylaw officers are going around more. I'm just curious, is there gonna be like 24/7? Is there actually somebody going to be, like, is there going to be patrol all the time and not just around the shelter, but around the entire town? And then I had the question, do you know why the numbers are climbing in our town and not in other towns of people that are kind of drug addicted vagrants? I'm really sorry if that offends anyone. I have a huge heart and I do care about everybody. So I am opening this new business at 1201 Bay Street. I live up on Topping Street, so I was at my shop quite a bit last week. I've been approved by Interior Health of finishing things up a bit. And I had the misfortune of witnessing last Wednesday when I believe that the welfare checks came out. There was just like an influx of so many people buying drugs openly. That day, for the second time in 3 weeks, I had to call an ambulance and run to find a kit to save somebody's life.
Yeah.
1 week before that, I lost a cousin to fentanyl in this town. And and then actually at the shop, there was a huge pile of vomit. And my dogs had rolled in human feces 3 times. And so I'm wondering, because I was really excited to open a business and I'm excited to be part of Trail. Trails had like a bit of a bad rap for quite some time. And it started to become beautiful. And now I'm like kind of questioning. I love it. I want to open the bakery. I want to be part of it. I want to be part of the solution. But what is actually being done? Like, I don't notice more police officers. I notice a police officer often like sitting actually in the City of Trail parking lot there. And when I drove by on my bike the other day after just witnessing open drug dealing, and he was sitting just in the parking lot, and I wanted to go say something, but I was actually afraid that someone would see me saying something to a police officer and then possibly target my business. And so I'm feeling really unsafe, and I've never, ever been someone who's afraid before, ever. And I actually feel unsafe. So please, like, tell me if you can, any single one of you, what is actually being done to like help protect the people, the businesses and the residences. Like 2 people, 2 times in the last 3 weeks, I've almost seen someone die right in front of me. 2 women on the ground, blue.
Yeah.
It's so upsetting. I'm so upset. I'm shaking. It's terrible, and I really want to know what you, our mayor, is going to do to help us, because we all want to be here. We're all here asking you, and can we help you in some way?
I'm going to get Councillor Hanson to answer this one because she is involved in a committee that could answer a lot of your questions.
So we have been working with the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee on developing a crime prevention through environmental design. And we're working with a professor of criminology, and he's actually up here from UBC and working with a group. And we are identifying areas that are high target traffic areas that we can then work with bylaw, the city, etc., and the businesses to be able to develop best practices for us to look at. If there's facade improvement grants that are available through the community, through different ministries that we can work with and support businesses. So this is something that is currently underway. We just got the grant approval 2 weeks ago, and we are moving forward to work through a way to make our community and our downtown area safer. I will also note that I did make a motion that was deferred to the Community Safety Task Force to investigate adding additional bylaw enforcement officers, and that was deferred to after some time of the shelter opening to make a review where things are at, and then potentially come back to council with that. Because it is a budgetary item that would have to be approved and planned for. So it's not that no one is hearing people, we are hearing you, and we are working very hard trying to align. We've been meeting with RCMP, the head of RCMP division. I don't know, Mayor Jones, if you're able to speak to that information that we were presented this week, but they're hearing us. And the Premier, even in his address, mentioned trail and the issues we're dealing with in our downtown in front of 2,000 delegates. So I would have to say that we are working, the mayor and the rest of council are working very hard, because it's up to almost, it's at the Premier and understanding. And we've been asking for funding and money and help and help. I mean, we're begging for help every day. When we go down to these conferences and they hear us. Mayor Jones, if you want to add on anything?
Absolutely. We did have a meeting with the RCMP and requesting more help here, more support. We need to get a higher complement here because we know that there's some officers off on sick leave. And they know, they said that we're a priority. We're working with them to get anyone from across Canada to come to BC. And they told us that BC was a priority for lots of officers right now. And also that trail is a priority for them to send officers to. I also wanted to say that we did speak to the mental health down there as well about what's happening on the streets. I think I mentioned before, like I said, we have spoken to everyone that we can speak to. This isn't just in our community. This is in every community across BC. It's across Canada. Okay.
But it's not though, and I'm wondering like, why is it so openly?
Well, I will
prevalent
tell
in
you that
trail?
every community is struggling with this because we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough healthcare workers, we don't have enough, we don't have enough people, we don't have enough services or support to deal with it in our community.
So then what are we waiting for to get those? Is it the upper government to send the funding? So we're waiting for funding. And is there something that?
Funding, and we also need the people to get the education to be able to come and do the work here. It's a problem that's right across Canada, well, it's across the world. I mean, it's in every community, and every community will tell you, you know, that they're struggling with it. They don't have housing, they don't have, you know, enough healthcare. So I would also suggest that you reach out to your Chamber of Commerce and see what they can do to help you. I mean, they're right there in that building right beside you across the street. Reach out to them to see what they can tell you and if they can help you with anything. I know it's a situation that is that we're struggling with as
And so
well.
I just want to clarify, if there's messes outside of my building, am I phoning the bylaw officers of trail or am I phoning Trail City Works?
So it's sorry if there's what?
Like vomit, feces, because I'm not. I cannot.
Okay.
You should be calling the general city hall number and they will put you through, or you can call us directly at corporate services. You want the phone number?
No, I can find it, thanks.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm glad, I'm feeling a bit hurt, I'm glad to hear that there's funding possibly coming and it's going up to upper government. And I hope that if there's anything that the people and residents of Trail can do to help this in any way, then please obviously reach out and let's all work at this together, because we're all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Donovan Brown. I've got rental properties on both sides of the bridge, heavily invested in real estate here in town. Definitely impacting my tenants, making it a very unsafe place to live and come out, you know, and do things. They can't go up the stairs at town. Anyway, I'm aware that you guys know the problem, so I'm not here to rehash the problem. And I appreciate you guys' willingness and a desire to do something about it. Here's the issue. Is that you want more funding, but how is it gonna be spent? And what my question to you is to consider not throwing money at the symptoms, because that's the problem. You're wasting money. That's what this whole safe supply harm reduction is. It's just throwing band-aids at a problem. It's not fixing the root cause. So you nailed it. There's more things to do with the youth and education. That's perfect. It's protecting the family, not just giving free stuff. Now here's an example. The concrete and the stones on these beautiful staircases, if you just chipped and chiseled, someone's gonna fall and break their legs. And what do I find? A nice brand new yellow shiny box for clean needles. And to me, that's an example of symptoms, treating symptoms. Like, no. We gotta stop these people from doing drugs out there to begin with. So that's what I wanna propose, is that you consider, how do we get to the root cause? Not handing out a safe environment. It's not safe there. It's very dangerous. You know that. You know the story. So thank you, and I appreciate you continue to look into this and look at Alberta, like Mark suggested. You know, they've got a success rate. this harm reduction, it's all over the world, like you say, it's because they're doing this model, it doesn't work, you know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
Diana,
Sorry, before you get started.
2070,
Do you have any new information for us tonight?
Yeah, I do. Okay. So first, I wanna actually thank Sheila and the staff for, they're doing a really good job keeping
Sorry,
the
Diana.
Riverside
This way we can't hear you.
the park, the Rotary Park. I've noticed that they've been cleaning up after, you know, the guests at the shelter, and, you know, that's really appreciated. So for the first time since my son has lived here, he has been now approached by 2 different individuals and verbally assaulted in the last couple weeks walking. He works at Dairy Queen at night, and so, you know, I guess that question of what can we do, having some kind of security maybe along that street. Again, we had that when the shelter was being built, and that was actually really helpful in our neighborhood. So that was just my question. I know it's probably already been answered. And I guess my second question is all the education for the youth based on just safe supply?
Is it?
Yeah, is it that, you know, if you have safe supply, that's okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question. Are you asking me if we're just educating?
Yeah, is that
youth
sort of
on
the
safe
basis of the
supply?
education in the schools?
No.
No, not abstinence.
You know what, I think it's
I think that's a
probably-
question for SB 20.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, it was just sorry, yeah,
So, you know, tomorrow, we do have an event happening, Guy Filicello is here to speak. I don't know if you've heard him
I heard
speak
about
before. And he will, probably, might be a subject in his event, I'm not sure. But if you're there to ask him that question, I think he would be the perfect person to answer it. Thank you. Okay, so if that's everything for tonight, we're gonna move on with the rest of our agenda. Item number 5. Item number 5 is the vote of our contract to water. Does anybody need a break before we go? Everybody's okay? Okay, item 5 is under communications. We have the Lower Lookout Reservoir Contract Award, and I am going to pass that over to Mr. McClure.
Thanks, Your Worship. Again, we had brought this late as I was away from governance committee last time I met. And so hopefully council's had an opportunity to look at it, and hopefully it explains itself in the actual document itself. We had a budget of $175,000. We got the quote back for individuals able to get this work done. We want to get it done before the snow flies this year. Time is starting to tick for us. Part of it is recognizing that it is, the quote we received is over the budget. However, we have some areas where we are under budget. And one of the works done on the pumps, and so that's certainly one that's going to help with the assist in the overage that we have. And we also know there's some engineering projects that we're not going to get to at this point in time. So I'm comfortable wearing that CFO hat, that again, the funds that are inside the water fund for doing this work is being reallocated and get some of the savings in the pack and go towards a project that is higher than the budget. I don't know if anyone else has any questions on that particular amount. Happy to answer.
Councillor Benson, go ahead.
Not specific about the quote, but just I've noticed a bit of a pattern where we're receiving just like kind of single people applying for our RFPs. I'm just wondering if you have an idea of like what factors could be contributing to this. How can we increase to get more competitive bids on our RFP process?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and I think back actually, it was in the paper, I think about a year ago, with the same questions we had because we were looking at Daniel Street. And again, we only ended up with one bidder, and we're fortunate that we got some local companies that can actually do this work. So we're actually quite fortunate in that way because there are other places that are smaller than us that don't have those local pieces to be able to do that work. There's a lot of capital work. There's a lot that has come in. So one of the downfalls, I mean, as much as we appreciate it when you have the province provide, for example, the growth fund that we received. So you get all of these municipalities getting this funding, and then we're out chasing similar type contractors to get the work done. And again, of course, we're starting to see some benefit as inflation is coming down and smoothing a bit. But I guess until I actually see an actual sort of recession that happens, I mean, you do hear about that a bit on some of the home construction, some of that. People are having a little bit more availability, some contractors being available that hadn't before. But I think there's a lot of public entity money. And so there's been saved up in reserve, whether or not it's been provided through grants from the province, that in particular in our area is finite companies doing the work or are qualified to do some of this larger level of work that we need to get done. And multiple municipalities and or other public entities trying to get the work done. I mean, we have a brand new school being built, so you think if I'm not trying to be facetious, but it's sort of like, hey, you got a $35 million school here. We also have a big competitor with Tech that also again went for a pretty major project, and again they're when they speak to us, it's like we're having to bring people in from all across the country to be able to get people to do the work that we need to get done. So kind of a shortage that's happening throughout the province, and then once you get them locked into doing the work, and then timing, us probably maybe paying a premium if you're saying, yeah, we could, thing I want to do is for the West Trail residents to have an issue with the water system up there because it's a unique one. So I know that we're getting better at. When I think about some of the projects that are coming up, and we're getting ready to put those out for bid that are 6 to 8 months away. So again, really hoping that allows for more entities to be interested in bidding on it. We do have a BC bid, and we know that companies look at those locations. In the same boat, sometimes some of the work we do is specialized, so it's not something that you just grab someone that has done the work or not. So, great question. I don't have an answer for you, and sadly, I mean, in the same way that as we start to see that interest rate tick down, the reason for that is as much as people may be happy that are redoing their mortgage, it does mean that someone looking out is saying, interest going down. Again, will it slow down to a point and then start to escalate again? And with rates dropping, potentially some people have said another 400 basis points by the time you get to spring of 2025. Does that mean all of a sudden people are now back into doing some construction. I know that when we were down at UBCM, talking to some of the entities there, saying some of the good news is that these rates dropping. In fact, I was talking to CEO of Prince Rupert. They're trying to do a $200 million project over the next number of years in an isolated area. Limited contractors to do the work, not seeing a real break going on locally. But what they're really happy about is that them going and borrowing from MFA, that rate dropping is actually a benefit to them to try to borrow for the next 10 or 20 years to get that work done. That the borrowing costs will be lower. But I also don't know if that borrowing cost is lower, not just for them, but for others means, okay, now it's time to take on this project and we just end up on another inflation jump, which then causes the Bank of Canada to have to increase the interest rates. So I don't know, when I think about the 20 some odd years where interest rates have been at, I don't think anyone would have said that we would again go up so high and then drop so quickly. And where is that going to end? It just hasn't seemed to have been that kind of crisis recession. Not that you want that to happen, but it's almost like you needed to reset things and to kind of slow down that economy. And yet, okay, when we talk about slowing down the economy, that means that we're going to have our own taxpayers having a hard time in with the mortgages, dealing with jobs, right? So it's a bit of a challenge. But I don't know if that's a long-winded answer. You didn't probably want the full thing, but hopefully you're okay with what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll put the recommendation forward. Councillor Wilson and Councillor Butler. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Columbia River Cleanup Project, and I will hand this over to Ms. Lucchini.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a housekeeping matter, we're calling that a very
conjunction with staff at KBRH, the maintenance folks. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Wilson.
Nothing to report, Your Worship, thank you.
Okay. So on to my report, and I sort of feel like my report has been reported. No, as we talk about the ABCM and all the meetings that we had, it seemed quieter this year, but I just want to thank council who came down with me, Councillor Hanson and Councillor Benson and Councillor Martin for being so committed and doing the work that we had to do down there, speaking to the ministers. Well, we only got to see the Minister of Housing, but you know, all the deputy ministers and just having that great conversations and the extra networking and collaborating we did, you know, the extra meetings we did with the other communities and the regional district, and all that work was really, really appreciated by them and by me. And I just really want to thank you for participating and being a part of it. I did have one item that I wanted to report out tonight about, and it was an update on the Gulch. You know, I got staff to reach out to see if you remember a while back that, well, when we were first going to put the shelter up there and all the controversy around the traffic up there and the speed of it. I did have a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation, and they did do some work up there. They, you know, collected some data, and we had talked about getting a crosswalk and slowing down the traffic up there. And so I'll just let you know what they said. The crosswalk warrant analysis in the Gulch was completed as scheduled in April and May by the Ministry of Transportation while school was still in. And it took into account the entire population of the city and Trail, and took a very conservative approach with a more dangerous 4-lane cross section up there opposed to the existing 3-lane, and also an additional conservative approach considering primary users of all 3 of the crosswalks for children. So the analysis came back that it was very clear that all 3 of the crosswalks on Roslyn Avenue are considered safe and do not warrant any type of special crosswalk or upgrade. So having given the results, the ministry won't be conducting any more safety upgrades to the crosswalks on Roslyn Avenue. But also I did speak to the staff person, David, and it's a desk guy. He has the information as well, so he will be making a report back to council. And I think the public has been asking about this, so I wanted to report out on it, just to let them know that the work had been done, and we do an analysis, and the city is looking at ways that they can maybe help slow the traffic down up there. So that's my report tonight. Number 8 is the consent agenda, and the recommendation is that the item on the consent agenda be received for information. Councillor Wilson and Councillor Benson, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Is there any new business tonight? And number 10, we have the department reports, and it looks like we have the Regional District Kootenai Boundary Building Report for December 2023, and the Regional District Building Department Report for January 2024, and the Regional District Building Department February 2024, and March 2024, and April 2024, and May 2024, and June 2024, July 2024, and August 2024. It looks like we're up to date. So the recommendation is that these reports be received for information. Councillor Butler and Councillor Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously,
Your
thank
Worship,
you.
if I could just denote that we should be getting those more regularly than that. And there was just a bit of a, I think, a glitch with some of staff where they had some challenges over it. I think that we would hope to get that to you on a more consistent, regular basis, so expect that to show up properly.
Okay, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Councillor Hanson, Councillor Benson, all those in favor? Rose. Carried. Thank you.